abundant are you with your acknowledgements? How often do you show appreciation verbally? Is this something that you think about? What we're going to be talking about today is actually a little bit of a twist on this, but I think it's a good one because I know for myself and for a lot of us, this is something that doesn't always come naturally. And there's such a magic to the use of our words that it's worth understanding how to start creating that magic. So hi, I am Kylie Ansett. I am the Alignment Whisperer and I guide seekers of alignment to get in touch with their inner brilliance. So I'm coming to you from beautiful Sydney, Australia. Do tell me where in the world you are. I would love to hear what part of this gorgeous planet you are currently right now. And if you're watching this live or in the replay, let me know. This is your daily dose of alignment. Okay, so let's talk acknowledgement. What is an acknowledgement? What does it mean? What does it sound like? What does it look like when it's at home? So I see acknowledgement as gratitude. I see acknowledgement as something that shows recognition, something that shows appreciation. Acknowledgement is honoring. Acknowledgement is something where you are seeing the light in someone else. That is acknowledgement. But there's a second half to acknowledgement because we see it sometimes, but we don't always voice it. And acknowledgement is it's an actual confirmation, or it's a statement that shows appreciation, gratitude, recognition, honoring. It's a statement that actually takes those beautiful, beautiful emotions to the next level, because once there's acknowledgement, it's spoken out into the world. And once it's spoken out into the world, it is made more concrete, it's made more solid, it's more manifest. And there's a synergistic magic that happens when you do this, when you speak this out into the world, not just noticing it. Because I don't know, if you're anything like me, you might notice these things about people and go, oh, that's she's looking really good today, or I love the way they did that thing, or isn't it beautiful how they interact with their partner, or whatever it is. There might be a million things that you think, but don't always say them. They don't always go from here to here. And why is that? Why do we hold back on these things? Sometimes I think it's because there's this energy of lack and scarcity that comes into our world, and this is just one of the many ways that it shows up, because scarcity and lack is not just about material things, it's about all things. And sometimes we feel that we need to sort of hold our goodness in because maybe there's not enough to go around. Obviously this is a very subconscious thought. We're not thinking that stuff consciously, but on a certain level, if speaking your gratitude, if speaking your acknowledgement, if speaking your respect and your honoring is something that is foreign to you, or something that you don't do naturally, then on some level, I am going to hazard a guess, because I've looked at it in myself, there's a sense of scarcity, of lack, the opposite of abundance. So that's the first side of this amazing concept. This is the second side. This is the next one. How often do you acknowledge yourself? Because I actually truly, really believe that it begins with yourself. Acknowledgement is acknowledgement begins at home. If I can coin a corny phrase, acknowledgement begins with acknowledging yourself. Now, remember what I said. Acknowledgement means speaking it or bringing it into the manifested reality, not just having a passing thought. Because, you know, there may be times when you go, oh, okay, you know, I did that well, or, you know, that looks nice, or I'm proud of this or that about yourself, right? But do you underline it? Do you bring it forward? Now, that doesn't mean you have to speak it to someone else. Of course you can, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about bringing it out into the world with a, you know, like looking yourself in the mirror and saying it to yourself. Even, it doesn't have to be verbally, but you see how you're underlining it. You're acknowledging yourself. Acknowledgement can happen in a glance, but the person receiving the glance knows that they're being acknowledged. Like there's a recognition there. And so when you do it to yourself, it's the same. It's not just a passing thought. And how often do you hear people, I don't think I'm guilty of doing this, but I certainly see it in others. How often do you see people who, when they receive an acknowledgement, they bat it away, or they deflect it, or they say, oh, this old thing, or, you know, they basically, you know, they can't let it in. They, you know, obviously they're not allowing themselves to let it in, but they're not only that, they're kind of feeling that, oh, I better put myself down because I just received something that was putting me up. So now I am going to hazard a guess that people like that would never acknowledge themselves, and potentially find it very hard to acknowledge others too. Acknowledgement begins with yourself. Begin by acknowledging yourself for even the smallest things, because if you're not in the habit of doing this, you know, you have to start somewhere. So start acknowledging tiny things, things that maybe don't matter. Doesn't matter, just get in the habit. You're starting to create a pattern. You're starting to create a habit just by doing it. Acknowledge something silly, acknowledge something big, acknowledge whatever. Start doing that first. Second, when other people acknowledge you, allow yourself to be acknowledged. Now, if you start acknowledging yourself, you're going to find that others' acknowledgement of you starts to sit a little easier, and you can accept it. It is an important skill to develop, because when you are unable to allow others to acknowledge you, not only are you robbing them of, and you're not really, but I'll say superficially, you're robbing them of the ability to give and to recognize and to be gracious and grateful and so on. Now, I say that superficially because honestly, we don't need someone to accept for us to be giving. That's not a necessary part. It's not a necessity, but it's kind of nicer when there is an acceptance there, right? But at the end of the day, you don't give a gift to someone because of the appreciation you'll get. You give it because it's coming from your heart, and whatever happens, you know, that's true giving. That's you know, unfettered giving. Otherwise, if you're only giving because you know that you owe them, or now they owe you, obviously that shifts the whole thing. But not only are you on some level reducing the ability of someone else to do that thing, to give in that way, but you're also telling the universe that you believe in lack, and you believe in scarcity, and you believe that there's so little to go around that God forbid anyone should acknowledge you, because that's like, you know, that's just disturbing this equation of scarcity and lack that's going on in your brain. So you really are creating a world of lack and you're destroying the possibility for a world of abundance. So it's a really important skill to develop. So start developing it by acknowledging yourself a lot. It doesn't mean you're going to become an arrogant person. Arrogant people do not acknowledge themselves. In fact, I would hazard a guess it's the opposite. That's not what's going to happen here. What's going to happen is suddenly abundance is going to become part of your world. Acknowledge yourself, then acknowledge others. Speak it. acknowledgement, remember, means actually giving some voice to it, or bringing it into the world, not just a thought in your own head. So, you know, if you see something beautiful, like say on social media, how often do you acknowledge what you see, or do you just let it pass and you don't say anything, you don't give the love hearts or say that, you know, that really moved me? You know, it's really interesting how we see how many people see our videos or our posts, but we don't, you know, there's so few people that are actually acknowledging them. So even something little in sort of meaningless like that, it starts the new habit. When you think something about someone, say it. When you recognize and honor something in someone, speak it to them, write it to them, in some way bring it into the world. I mean, if it's a complete stranger that you're walking past in the street, you don't have to start going up and saying kind of random things to people, but just acknowledge them with your eyes. Like, glance at them in a way that acknowledges them, because people recognize that look. They recognize it. Absolutely. So start doing that. Start then also being able to receive acknowledgement. Be okay with it. And then look how the abundance shifts in your world. Look how suddenly the world is one where there is plenty, where there is more than enough to go around of everything. And there's not this scarcity feeling. There's not this need to kind of hang on and not allow these things out. Thank you so much for playing with me in the Alignment Sandbox. I have enjoyed it. I love these conversations, because although I have a couple of bullet points that I know I want to talk about, I'm always surprised at where it goes. Like, there was 3 or 4 things I spoke about there. I was like, oh yeah, I never thought of that. So I am teaching myself as much as anyone else. That I guarantee you, and I love that. I absolutely love that. So thank you so much for your time, for your energy. I acknowledge you. I appreciate you, and I see you, and I know that the power is within you. Bye-bye.